Hello, friends, family, fans. Yes. Welcome to my humble abode, my office, and time for another video. I've been able to do these about once a month and been getting good response. So thank you for your comments and your feedback about these videos. I really appreciate it, honestly. This time, I want to talk a little bit about a dilemma in the independent publishing industry. It's grown tremendously, and it's been very good for me in getting my books out and having full control over how I do my books, how I market my books, and controlling the content and distribution of the books. But there is a drawback. There's a lot of outfits out there. If you're a writer and you're looking into independent publishing, there's a lot of outfits that will offer their services or offer a training package or videos on teaching you how to quickly get your story out onto Amazon and become an instant success and gain riches and fame and all of that. They paint a very nice rosy picture. That's all good and well, but it takes a whole lot more work than that. And if anyone tells you that, hey, you've got a great story, why don't you just upload it to Amazon and turn it into an ebook and see how it does? Okay, well, that sounds like it's easy, but actually it's not quite so easy. Things you have to think about is formatting, making sure that the styling, the font, the layout of your ebook is appropriate and correct. You have to pick a cover for it, artwork, and not something that's thrown together, but it needs to be quality, which I'm going to talk about some more here. And also making sure that your story is good, that it's edited and it sounds good and it looks good. All those things are something you have to think about when you're an author and you decide to do independent publishing. And trust me, I've spent, unfortunately, lots of money on ebooks that sound great. Someone will reach out to me on Twitter and say, hey, would you take a look at my book? And I take a look at it and I read a few of the reviews, which sound pretty good, and then I download it. And I'll be honest with you, the writing is stinky. Spelling errors, syntax wrong, scene development is a mess, plot lines confusing. So I'll get a couple chapters into a story hoping that it gets better, and it doesn't, and I end up putting it down and not ever going back to it. And unfortunately, here's what happens when that takes place. I don't plan on going back to reading anything else from that author. They may have 5 books that they've published down on Amazon, but I'm only going to take a look at the first one and not going to look at the other ones because I've already gotten a bad taste from the first book. So it's very, very important that when you put a book out there that you want it to be the best quality possible. So here's my recommendation. When you finish your story and you feel that it's a good story and someone says, hey, why don't you upload that to Amazon or Apple iBooks and get your book published? Great idea, right? Well, have you done a read-through of your book, of your story? Have you done a first pass of editing of your book? That's my recommendation. After you have completed writing your book, go back and do your edit. Read through it again, do your edit. And this time, when you're editing, each scene, I'm not talking chapters, but each scene of your story, read it out loud as if you were at a bookstore reading to an audience. You will be amazed at how many mistakes or sentence structure issues you get wrong just because it doesn't sound good when you read it out loud. It's very amazing. It really is. I learned that the hard way. If you've read my first Zegan story, I've got a lot of people who like that story, but man, if you try to read it out loud, it could use some improvement. In fact, I have done some rewrite of that story. But it can do a lot to improve the quality of your story. So after you've done your first past edit and you've done your audible reading out loud to catch any mistakes that you have in the story, go shopping for an editor. There are a ton of editors out there who are willing to go through your story and clean it up for you. And yeah, it's painful. They're going to throw a lot of red ink on there, whether it's digital or in print, but it is worth it. And when you're shopping for an editor, find someone that has experience. Find someone that has experience with the genre that you write for, whether it's historical romance or sci-fi, fantasy, whatever genre it is that you're writing for. Make sure the editor you select is familiar with that genre and that they have experience, that other writers have used them and the quality is good and they continue to use them. And I will say it does cost a little bit of money. Now you might be able to get a deal with someone that is willing to give you a break, maybe because you're a brand new author and they want to see your work and they like your work and they become vested because they like you. They may give you a break or a discount and offer to put them in the credits for the book. Everyone who's edited my books or my stories gets mentioned in my stories, and because I have a huge level of appreciation for what they've gone through. So make sure your edit generates a quality story. Trust me, it is so worth it. Next thing to talk about, the cover art. There's a lot of authors out there that try to put together their own cover art, and it shows. If you look at a lot of the covers on a lot of the ebooks on Amazon, there's some stuff out there that's pretty rough. And it's also important, if you're going to print, make sure you do a proof copy. I've talked about this on an earlier video. I'll give you another example. Zegan's Adventures in Absalom. Here's the cover, and initial take, it looks kind of good, but it doesn't look anything like the ebook version because all the stars are missing. Can you see that? There are no stars. You get the reflection of the monitors on the cover, the glossy cover. Let me show you how it's supposed to look. There it is. Now you've got the stars, you've got the galaxy in the background, and it's a much better cover. And it looks good. The font's a little kind of strange, and we've made improvements on that, but that's how that turned out. Let me show you another one. Now, if you are following me, you know about Airborne, and I will have to say the cover here for Airborne is just absolutely amazing, and the more you look at it, the more details you'll see in the cover. And let me tell you, Russell, my cover artist, Calhoun, he just did an amazing job. And when Airstorm is completed, I'm going back to Russ for the cover art for that book as well. But the cover art also has to be reflective of the genre that you're looking at as well. This is a sci-fi fantasy, urban fantasy with a little romance, and the cover grabs your attention. And every bookstore manager or owner I've put this in front of, they love the cover, and it draws people in. Now, it depends on the genre. I'll give you an example here. Here's a book, Your Faithful Servant, Sophia's Story by Shannon Salter. And can you tell by the cover, it's a historical romance? Yeah, You can tell that by looking at the cover, right? So the cover art needs to reflect the type of genre, because that's the market you're appealing to. And you want quality art. This cover on Shannon's book, that is a quality cover. Come back a little bit so that you can see it easy. That's quality. You can tell that it wasn't just thrown together with some computer digital drawing and a background that it's kind of pasted onto. You know what I'm talking about. You've seen them. And when you see a cover like that that's just kind of thrown together, I tend to walk away from them. I will say there are some books that I've gone to look at, and I absolutely love the cover art and the font and the pitch for the story. And then I get into the book and the writing is kind of iffy. So, you know, you got to do quality on both things. Here's why it counts. Because when you release your book, you're putting your name on it. When you put your name on it, that's your brand. And if you're putting it out there for the world to see, you're saying, here's the best I can do and give. Take a look. And trust me, if it's quality, if they love your story, if they love the writing, they love the cover art, the next story you release, they're going to pick it up. And the next one. So you're setting your brand, you're creating your brand, you're establishing yourself as a writer. And if you have hurry-up-itis and rush into it and you skip vital editing and you skip quality cover art, you're going to lose, because you're going to lose a huge audience who are just not interested in looking at your writing anymore. And you may be a good writer, you may have some awesome stories, but if it's not quality, the readers are not going to come. And the reviewers, you're not going to get many reviews if the quality is not there either. So there's my tip for this time. I showed some examples there of cover art and making sure that you do high quality. You want to set up a good reputation. That's what you want, and that's what you got to go for your brand. Now, what else I wanted to say? Some news. Airborne is being translated to Spanish. We're about a third of the way through the book, and the translator, Nazareth, who lives down in Venezuela, is doing an awesome job. I have a couple Spanish beta readers who love what she's done, and they're just chomping at the bit to get the next installment so that they can give me their feedback on it. Second good news, Airborne for German. I have just gone into an agreement with a translator to do a translation of Airborne in the German language, and I'm really excited about that. I wasn't expecting it. A fan of the story who reads in English has reached out to me and asked if I wanted a translation in German. And so, yeah, of course. The more languages, the better. I'm looking for someone to do Portuguese. I have a lot of followers in Brazil, believe it or not. And when I asked on Instagram, what language would you like to see next, the most votes I got were for Portuguese. So if you know someone that's looking to dive into doing a translation, I'm interested. Wanted to give a little shout out and a pitch to Shannon Salter. Shannon is a friend of mine who actually married a longtime friend of mine. And she's a writer as well. And this is her second book. It's historical romance. And I got to be honest with you, I'm a sci-fi writer. I go to Star Wars movies, and Star Trek and space operas and that kind of thing. And I don't normally read historical romance, but Shannon is an awesome writer. And her books are pretty incredible. I do enjoy reading her writing. She writes in first person, which is another thing I don't normally delve into. I'll admit, for whatever reason, I tend to not care for first-person perspective. Sorry, this is the way I am. It's kind of like going to a movie. You know, you sit down in the audience, you're the third person, you're watching the movie play out, right? But that's okay. I know a lot of people like first person. There are some authors I read who are first person authors, and I like their books as well. Anyway, go to Amazon, do a search on Shannon Salter, look for this book. You'll really like it. It's a good book. And thank you, Shannon. Got a nice autographed copy there. And yes, I paid for this book. I don't ask authors to give me their books because I'm a struggling writer myself. I know what it's like. It costs money to give a book away. So if you do manage to get a book from someone and they gave it to you, do me a favor. Write a review. Talk about their book on social media. Give them a plug because they spent money to give you a book. So do that for me. There's a newsletter coming up soon, within the week. And if you're not on my email distribution list, go to the website, timothytrimble.com. Click on the button for signing up for the newsletter, and you'll receive a copy of that. And anything else to talk about? Oh yeah, another little tip. I'm starting to learn some things about video recording, putting stuff on YouTube. One, stare at the camera. If you're looking at the screen, everyone's wondering, what's he looking at? How come he's not looking directly at the camera? I don't get it. Look at the camera on your device so that people see that you're looking at them. They're looking at you while watching your video. Another thing I've learned, I have 3 computer monitors here. 2 large screens, one's a Mac, one's a PC monitor, and a laptop directly in front of me. And I wear eyeglasses. And so one of the drawbacks to wearing eyeglasses is if you've got monitors in front of you, you're going to pick up the glare in the monitors. Well, what I've done to help make that better is I've darkened the screens. I set up some dark backdrops, and the script that I'm running off of, visually looking at as I record this video, has a darker background with a lighter font over the top so that I can, not get this glaring reflection off the glasses. Little tip. Anyway, are there any outtakes this time? Maybe. Thanks for watching the video. I really do appreciate all your loving support and generosity and kindness and feedback in reading my stories and just watching my videos and following me on Twitter, Instagram, my website, Facebook. Check them all out. I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Catch you all next time. Cutting that out. How about a drink? There we go. Let's go on the outtake. I love this water bottle, by the way. It's nothing to do with writing, but it's a cool water bottle. Picked up from an auto dealership while my Subaru was being looked at. Anyway. Water. Good. Okay. When you write your story, let's cut that one out. That goes into the outtakes.